Perfect. Welcome to Lunch Bunch on this January 22nd, where we are starting Mary Kay on People Management, our Bible of Mary Kay, if you will. And we are going to be reviewing today the first chapter, which is on the Golden Rule. So I know you both have read the chapter, right? You have the book and you read the chapter. You're so good. You're like the best students. Um, So do you both have this version, right?
Yes,
Okay. All right. So who wants to read the Mary Kay quote that's at the beginning of the chapter?
I will.
Go ahead, Jane.
The golden rule teaches us to do unto others as we would have them have others do unto us.
Oh, that's what it says at the beginning of yours, huh?
Yes.
Marilyn, does
Oh,
it have the same thing? Because my little Mary Kay Ash quote is
how
different.
about the seeds? Is
Yes,
that
that's the one that I
okay?
have in mind. And let me just say this, there's no bad version of this book. It's just been redone so many times that some versions have different quotes than others. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, go ahead, Marilyn.
Okay, the seeds you plant in the hearts and minds of others will be what you receive in return, 110-fold. Only so that which you wish to receive in return. So good, receive good. Mary Kay.
Yep. So if you want good to come back, so good out into the world. I mean, it seems like common sense, but sometimes we get caught up not so much doing those things.
Well, I was thinking as I read that I wish some of the managers that I've had in the past would have read it.
Yeah, hearing her stories about previous leaders that she was under, it really it really connects with a lot of people who have worked in corporations, right? Number one, but also creating such a gratitude for what we have in Mary Kay and what Mary Kay Ash started, because of those experiences that she went through. So I don't have cliff notes to Mary Kay on people management. We're just going to go through the chapter. And what I love to do is just highlight the things that I want to share as we go through. And this time I even took my pen and underlined things that I didn't have highlighted from the last time I read it. And so just starting on the Golden Rule leadership on the first section, what did you ladies pull from that as she's talking about following the golden rule and how it can bring success?
Hmm. It it occurred to me, the way she refers it to her family experience. Um, this kind of leadership is broader than just corporation or Mary Kay or you know the golden rule can apply anywhere.
Right. In every single aspect of your life. To
Hmm.
put yourself in the place of that other person. And if this were me in that scenario, right? She vowed that because of the people that didn't follow that, right? That when she would not repeat the same wrongs that she saw, where some managers might be, well, I had to have ulcers because of what I went through, so now it's my turn to give the ulcers, right? It's like, no, not Mary Kay. How about you, Jane?
I agree with Marilyn and stuff. And also in the medical world, my goal was to treat others how I wanted to be treated when I'm that patient.
Right.
And I have learned living in Florida, they have different philosophies on medical care. So I have to pull myself back at times because that's why I gave good care because I wanted because I was the patient advocate
Mhm.
and everybody blames it on COVID. The young nurses got out of medical world because of COVID and stuff. And you know, I think we've used the COVID excuse too long. It's time to get our big girl panties on and just move on from it. People gain 15 pounds from COVID. Well, yeah, okay. So you did. Okay. Do something. If you're not going to do something about it, complain about it. Eat healthier if you want. It's expensive to eat healthy. It's just, I don't know. That's what I think of it.
Right. And I agree 1,000,000%. And that goes in the Mary Kay world too. We were forced to do a lot of things virtually, and I'm grateful for that. For this conversation here, we are three women that are in very different geographical areas, and I was able to learn how to do some technology in our, book studies and our meetings and things like that. But it is time to get back to what Mary Kay Ash had started around the table and getting back in person and just seeing people for people. And I think that COVID did affect a lot, especially in the younger generations who were being formed. Their brains were being formed during this lockdown, and I think it created a lot of anxiety. And we can be the example for those that struggle with what happened during COVID and how their brains were formed during that time to say, you can move on past this and it can get back to where we were. It's not going to be the same. It'll never be the same after
No.
COVID. And I think that a lot of the things that won't ever be the same are actually good things, that will help us communicate better. But it's just keeping that golden rule of, you know, you use the example of being a nurse during COVID. You were never a nurse during a lockdown. There's no way for us to even know what that experience was like and how it was treated to them, because I know this is what I heard. I am not a nurse, and I'm not super close with anybody that was nursing during that time. But what I did hear is they were forced to do things that they didn't want to necessarily do. They were being forced to ventilate people that they felt maybe didn't need a ventilation or whatever. I mean, there was a lot going on that could really scar somebody. But I just watched the Elizabeth Smart story last night, that poor girl that was kidnapped for 9 months and ended up getting back with her family. And, one of the things that she said is that that situation did not define me or my worth. I have to remember my worth. I have to remember that God loves me, and there's reasons and people that I can help through that. So some people will take it and work it into the golden rule and help others through the traumatic experience that they had. And some others don't even have the emotional maturity to do that. They just kind of shut down. So unfortunately, it's affected us with our healthcare and all of that because it isn't the same for sure. Like just looking back 10 years ago to what the healthcare system was like to what it is today, it's night and day. And so
Mhm.
expensive, so expensive. Anyway, we're getting off track of Mary Kay, but yeah, just being put into those unpleasant experiences can teach you what to do better. And that's what Mary Kay Ash took from that. She took from all those negative experiences and said, if I were in charge, if I had influence, this is what I would want to do. And that's where that golden rule came from.
I
And
thought it was,
go ahead, Marilyn.
I was just going to say, I learned from that about, she said she'd stand in line for 3 hours to shake someone's hands. I don't think I would ever do that, but it sounds terrible.
Depends on who
It's
it is.
not that it's not that I don't admire different people and admire their style. It's just never been that important to me to shake their hand. But I did learn from, and she talked about how disappointing it was at times. But I did learn from that, from people like her, it would be worth the wait.
Right. If
You
Mary
know,
Kay Ash had a line of people waiting to meet her, I'd be in that line. That's for
yeah.
sure. Yeah. Especially
I
when
like I
she
like that
wasn't
too.
as present as people are today on Zooms and things like that. Like if you didn't meet her in person, that was your chance. You didn't get to see a
Yeah.
video of her or hear her recordings or anything like that. Go ahead, Jane.
No, I was just going to say on that same topic that Marilyn was talking about. I was impressed that, when she never got to shake the president's hand, they waited, they got a tour of the plant, they ate with him, blah, blah, blah. And then her, like you said, she took the negative things and made them positive in the Mary Kay business. And so she stands in line and she looks everybody in the eye and congratulates them. And I remember when I went to the last meeting, when he went on stage, somebody did the same thing to me. And it's just like, wow. I mean, this is, the more I read about Mary Kay Ash, she is a remarkable woman. And little things like that mean a lot to me as an individual because they do consider me a person, which I like.
Right, right. Absolutely. And it's taught me to work on that. I never met Mary Kay. She was passed before I even came into the company. But I do feel like I know her. I feel like I know her through the books and the stories and the recordings. When they play a recording at a Mary Kay event of Mary Kay speaking, I am blocking everything else out to hear exactly what's coming out of her mouth. And I love that we stand and applaud after Mary Kay's videos are played at events and things of that nature. And so really, taking that and wanting to be that person for others when I go to conferences, right? Like I was talking this morning, Jane heard this already, but like the DIQs, if I saw a red jacket walking around leadership conference, I was stopping to bow down to her, to give her a congratulations, to tell her I'm so proud of her. And then also, I've been the person in a scooter and a wheelchair at an event because I couldn't walk a couple of years ago when I was really struggling with my mold illness, and knowing how isolating it is when you're in a wheelchair or scooter at an event and people don't really see you. I acknowledge every single person, what happened, hearing their story, and it just means the world to them. That's my portion of Mary Kay Ash to help spread, versus just chasing after the ones that have a long line of people waiting to talk to them. I want to talk to the ones that are feeling a little isolated, a little unseen because they're in a predicament. Or they're not where they want to be, right? The red jackets really want to be in that pink jacket. And so just encouraging them to do that. And I didn't always have that. I was the person looking to see who else was around, what's going on, when am I getting out of here? And the more times I read that part of her story, I don't want to be that person. So one of my great friends was sitting by me. We were at the worship service, and I was speaking to a woman in a wheelchair, and her daughter came. Her daughter's not Mary Kay, but her daughter came to just push her around in the wheelchair and help her with anything she needed, to find out that they had just lost her husband, and he came to every Mary Kay thing, and it was just so hard for them, to be there without him. Not only that, but now she's in a wheelchair and they got to maneuver. And so just making her feel important. And I go to sit down, and my good friend was there, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even see you walk in." And she goes, "You know why? You were giving your undivided attention to that woman in the wheelchair, which is exactly what Mary Kay Ash would have done." She goes, "That's why you didn't see who was walking in, because she said, I was watching you and you were giving that woman your full attention and then loving on her daughter for being the daughter that's going to come walk her around. Not pressuring her daughter to join Mary Kay or anything. I mean, there's a little bit of that in there, like, don't you want to be a part of this now that you see all of it? But just, giving her the kudos for stepping up and being there when her dad couldn't. I think it was a huge blessing for them. So that's what I learned by reading. And I read this, you guys, over and over and over. I can't tell you how many times I've read this book. And I'm always in a different place and always hearing something different because of the different place that I'm in my own growth. And sometimes it's a different place ahead and it's a different place back. Like sometimes I fall back and have to be reminded of some of these things as well. I don't think Mary Kay Ash was perfect in any way, but boy, from what I can read and hear from other people, she was pretty dang close because she really understood people and the psyche behind just loving on people and not looking at anybody with dollar signs. And she came into this business with $5,000 to her name that she fully invested and died probably a multi-billionaire, I'm sure. I'm sure. And what I love about Ryan and Ryan, her grandson, that's the CEO and president right now, and her great granddaughter that runs the Mary Kay Ash Foundation, like they get up every day and go to work for Mary Kay's legacy where everyone in the family is benefiting from Mary Kay Ash's, um, legacy because they get paid every month just for being part of the family, basically, and that's enough to live on, I'm sure. And they don't just take that and live their lives. Like they want to truly lean in and carry on their great grandmothers and grandmothers' legacy. So I think it's absolutely beautiful that they do that. And when she says here, each person whose hand I shake is the most important person in the world to me at that moment, I have heard that over and over again. Like, she might have recognized somebody walking up just by grabbing their hand, but she never took her eyes off you. She was letting this woman know, I see you. I know that you're there, and I'm going to pay attention to this woman. Just like when it's time for me to talk to you, I'm going to pay attention to you, and I'm not going to look at anybody else around. So she said, once every month, a group of independent sales directors come to Dallas to visit the company for an educational program. So that's twofold. There were new directors every month that would come. They were in DIQ and they would go to new director training. You had to go spend a week in Dallas before you even became a sales director. It was during your qualification period and really be approved to be able to be a director. It was more than just, how many people you have active and that kind of thing. She wanted to make sure that the directors and nationals were going to uphold the image and legacy of Mary Kay. So not only the new directors coming in for a new director training, but existing directors would travel to Dallas every month for a director meeting.
So do they still do that?
Because there's so many directors everywhere. When nationals started being born, the nationals would have director meetings at different locations. And
Mhm.
that's why you hear me driving to Bradenton once a month because there's a national down in Bradenton that has a director red meeting. And so I drive in for that. It was convenient for me for a long time because we had a national right here in Deltona, and she held a local director meeting, which was 10 minutes from my house. And that was really nice. But she moved because her husband's a pastor, and so they moved to another state. And the other national that did it with her retired. So now it's, looking to see where the nationals are. Ruth Everhart, you'll get to meet her at Sunshine Superstart and hear from her. She is the director that has the director meeting in Bradenton that we go to. Yeah, until I'm a national, right? And so that's what I want to build. When I moved here, there was not a local meeting within a half hour to 45 minutes. I either had to go to Port Orange or Orlando to find a meeting that consultants could go to, a meeting that a local director was holding. And so it became my mission to become a director quick so I could have a meeting in the area that where there was no meetings. And that's when all meetings were in person, you know? And I feel like we're going to get back to that soon enough. There are more directors doing it in person. So if I were to start doing it in person, I could send Madison people to a local meeting. I can send Villages people to a local meeting. And there's going to be directors doing this, all around the US. I don't think we're doing away with any virtual meetings, but I think that we're going to start having more in-person things for consultants to plug into for sure. Because just like Jane said, COVID's over. We can gather in the same room. We can hug. We don't have to wear masks everywhere we're going. So let's not forget that piece of why we're in Mary Kay and what Mary Kay started so many years ago. Let's stand in line. It's funny that you say that, Marilyn, because every time at leadership, there were things I wanted to do in the expo, and every time I would go to do it, there was a line, and I'd be like, nope. And I'd turn around and walk away. And I ended up missing a few things that I really wanted to do because I refused to wait in the line. And I'm like, I got other things to do. I got to keep walking. I got to get my steps in, all the things. So never actually sat in the electric Cadillac. I've sat in it before. I sat in it at seminar, but I really wanted at seminar, we were more focused on getting pictures in front of it and that kind of thing. And I was with some consultants, and I just wanted to just sit in there. It wasn't about getting a picture. It was just about feeling it and experiencing the Cadillac so I can have my belief and get us there, lead us there. And so Tom said, when we get home, I'll take you to test drive the electric Cadillac. So, and that's always done it for me. Like When I was earning the Chevy Cruze, he took me to test drive a Cruze. When I earning the Equinox, he took me to test drive the Equinox, and then he took me to test drive the Cadillac. So I've never driven the electric Cadillac. You know what I mean? So that's what we're gonna do.
Question regarding this morning at the grade eights. You said something about um, being invited because you were a Mary Kay in the pink Cadillac. How did the invite start? Was she in Mary Kay?
Yeah, so the pastor of the church in Detroit, Michigan, um, the pastor's wife is a national sales director, and Mary Kay, Chrisette Ellis. And so this is a major church in Detroit, Michigan, and that's where had booked to hold her celebration of life. And at this church, when a police officer dies, they line the street with police cars. When a fireman dies, they line the street with fire trucks. So she said, well, this is the Queen of Soul driving in the freeway of love in her pink Cadillac, so we should line the street with pink Cadillacs. So she made a little image. If you have a pink Cadillac and you would like to attend, you plus one can attend this event. Because there's a list, like you had to be on the list to get in there. There were people lined up for blocks just to see who was attending it, right?
Yeah, I
And when
bet.
that flyer came across my eyes, I'm like, let's pack. It's a 19 and a half hour drive. My top consultant at the time lived in Tennessee. And so I offered her, I said, I'll put you on my insurance if you want to take this drive with me because Tom couldn't get the time off work or he'd have gone with me. So I drove to Tennessee myself and picked her up. And then she got to drive the pink Cadillac, which was great, right? Like she got to take turns with me driving it. And I at first thought, well, this is going to be like a really sad Grammys. I'm going to get to see all these famous people. Of course, I'm going to go. I didn't know anything about Aretha Franklin. And then I learned about her. I learned about her on the way, and it really ended up being a pretty pivotal point in my life to just know that, it's not where you come from, it's where you decide to go. Because she was pregnant at 12, had her first baby at 12, her second at 14, and died the Queen of Soul. And we got to lead her to her resting place. There was like a parade of 144 pink Cadillacs lined the street.
Wow.
And so it was like a parade because people were lined for miles and miles all the way to the cemetery. And we led that way, and they were crying and holding signs. Thank you for honoring our queen. And they're yelling out our license plate. Oh my gosh, Florida. Oh my gosh, New York. Oh my gosh, California. Like Cadillacs came from everywhere. And you didn't have to be in Mary Kay. There were other pink Cadillacs that were in that procession. The majority Mary Kay. The majority were Mary Kay, but there were some really classic old pink Cadillacs that were in there too. And it was just such an experience. The only thing I wish they had told us was to bring snacks because we didn't know it would be a 10-hour day without food. I was a little hangry by the time we got done with that. But that was our very first Cadillac. And that was a lesson for me too. I overinvested to get into that Cadillac. And I've never overinvested since then because all that does is it tells everybody we've done enough and we really hadn't. And so learning that lesson and just continuing to grow in Mary Kay has been really great. I've learned how to that taught me to sell because I was a really good recruiter at that time in my career and over investing going, well, now I have all this stuff. How do I sell it? And I got really good at selling it. If you can believe it, I learned how to sell Mary Kay while driving a pink Cadillac. Now I knew how to sell it. I just learned how to sell really good. So I think that's the beauty of this business is that you're always growing. School is never out for the pro, and you're always taking away a lesson, whether it be a good or bad lesson. You're always taking away a life lesson, right? So, like Mary Kay talks in here, when somebody fails, like they're not really thriving in their position, it's not where she's going to pull them in the office and make them cry and say, pack up your desk and get out of here. Let's try to find something that's better suited for you, right? And I believe that's why they have the buyback. They have that 90% repurchase program because they understand Mary Kay is not for everybody, but they really want you to give it your all. They really want you to take advantage of the incentives that they offer and get started with inventory so you can fill the orders at the parties because it does move. You know, I moved $1,400 worth of product right before I left at that party. And there was only a couple things that I had to order for that party, and it's because I ran out. It's because I ran out of peels, or I mean toning lotions and repair eye creams because they're on the special deal sheet. So like everybody's ordering those things from special deals, you know. Um, and she says here, their shortcomings were due to a lack of empathy for their associates. They failed to ask themselves the all-important question, what would I do if I were the other person? And she also says one expression of this responsibility is the role of independent sales director. This individual builds a team, educates, and guides other beauty consultants. So through my shortcomings, I'm always hoping that you learn from them. It's like parenting too, right? Like you're always hoping your kids will learn from your mistakes. They don't always. They gotta learn them themselves. But I'm always I'm always willing to share what I've done really great and what I've not done really great and be okay with that, you know, because we're all a work in progress. So before we talk about the adoptee program, any other shares about that first section with the bad bosses? There's actually a movie called Bad Bosses. That was really those were really bad bosses in that movie. I mean, my only example, you know, working for the phone company in Chicago, it did not matter that the roads were covered in ice and dangerous for us to be on. We had to get to work. It didn't matter that there was a blizzard and traffic was stopped on the highway. You still got written up if you were late because there was a blizzard going on. You know, like I'm so grateful that I don't have that in my life anymore because I really put my life in danger many times just to get to work, to have them go, okay, we're going to shut down, go ahead and go back home now.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just tell me that when I called this morning to ask if I still had to come in, you know? I would much rather have them say, we care more about your safety and we want you to stay home and be safe. You know, they would have had me probably many more years if that had happened.
I um I was a teacher at a high school, and when I reported for work on snow, the high school was on a high hill and it was iced with the snow. This was in Virginia, and I had come from Michigan, you know, and when I came up to the principal looks at me and he goes, "Leave it to a Yankee to report for work."
We knew how to drive on that ice and snow.
I'd be nervous more leaving work than getting up the hill. I'd be nervous going down the hill on ice. It'd be like a roller coaster. Oh my goodness. Well, the adoptee program is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I was always adopted coming up in Mary Kay. And, you know, the adoptee program is for when you don't live near your sales director, you know, and there was always in-person meetings. And so you had to find a meeting to attend in order to even know what was going on. I mean, yes, there was social media when I came in, but you know, like it wasn't all over social media the way it is today. I think that definitely amped up over the pandemic, how much recognition and things are being given on social media and such. But even though my sales director lived within, I think, 30, 40-ish minutes from my house, and she held a weekly meeting. Her unit size was very small. So her unit meeting consisted of me and one or two other consultants around her kitchen table every week. And it was during the day. So anybody that worked, you know, couldn't go. And any guests that you wanted to bring that worked couldn't go. And she was my biggest cheerleader, but there was a local director, a pink Cadillac director, that had an in-person nightly, weekly meeting at a hotel, at a local hotel that was on fire. And the guests got pampered every time they came. And it was really a really exciting meeting. And so, you know, I just asked her, I said, as long as I continue to come to your meetings, could I attend that meeting as well? And she said, absolutely, because that director lit a fire under me. That director gave me the passion and drive to want to go for directorship and beyond, and today she's $1 million director. She's actually our guest speaker for next month's Rising Red Rumble. Her name is Kiana McKinney. And she's an African American director. And let me tell you, this meeting was an African American meeting, basically. I stuck out like a sore thumb and I loved it. I love attention though. So that's kind of how I am. But I'm telling you, these ladies, they got me going. They got me so excited about my Mary Kay business. And then right after that was when Tom was offered the position here and we moved. So I really only attended those meetings for maybe a couple months, but learned so much from her, and then I came here and I was adopted a few times, finding my right placement on who's going to really light a fire. Once I met Allison Carter, it was less than 5 months. She was the one that told me to do an interview every day. And less than 5 months later, I was a sales director running my own meeting. So it happened pretty quick once I found the right leader. So I do love that. And I also understand that not everybody in our unit, even though I hold meetings and I hold events, not everybody's going to be led by me. They're going to have a different personality style. And that's why I love all these other events. You're going to get to hear from different personalities at Sunshine Superstar, at Career Conference, all of those seminar, fall advance. So you get to hear from different people that you can also be inspired by and follow. I just say, there's good and bad in every business, including Mary Kay. And so if you are going to follow somebody, just be spirit led when you do it to make sure that they're doing things the Mary Kay way. Because I've also followed people in Mary Kay that weren't doing things right and taught me some very wrong things to do, like over investing to earn a Cadillac. And that's not the way it's meant to be done. So I've learned my lesson with that, but I also got a very valuable life lesson by over investing and having that Cadillac at that moment in time that Aretha Franklin passed. I mean, you can never
Yeah.
plan for something like that. It's not like I could say on that day, oh, I'm going to earn the Cadillac so I can go to that. Nope. You either had the Cadillac or you didn't. So God had a plan for all of it. So something I have highlighted here is, like when you're traveling and you live in Chicago, but you're traveling to Florida or Pittsburgh, you can recruit people there. And then the Pittsburgh director will devote a lot of time and effort to the new beauty consultant, even though the Chicago sales director will be paid the commissions. And we do that because I know that when I'm pouring into Winnie and a Tia Moya and an Yvonne and a Joanne who aren't really in our unit, that there's another director pouring into one of my consultants. And I always tell the adoptees, who I call my adorables, I always tell them, the best thing that you can do is just follow my advice and tell my unit that you're just doing what I told you to do. Because and I don't have any financial connection to them. And it's just about hearing the same thing from different people in a different way sometimes clicks in your brain. Like the way I'm saying it might not be the way you hear it, but you hear somebody else saying it a different way. I think it's beautiful. And I don't have any fear of that, of sharing my meeting with other consultants or having my consultants partner in another meeting, as long as we're all in the same conversation and respecting each other. I think it's just about that. It's about the golden rule. You know, I'm not going to do or say anything to an adopted consultant that I wouldn't do or say to my own consultants. And I think that's the key.
Still on Million Dollar Monday, do we have more adoptees on that Zoom call?
The adoptee, see, you wouldn't know, and by choice, I don't want anybody feeling like an adopted child,
No,
right? I
it's just
want them to
curious.
feel like the family. But I will say, like, I'm looking at my list here to see who's adopted. That's on our Mondays: Yvonne Williams, Winnie Knowlton, Tara Williams,
Oh, wow.
Joanne Fike, Anita Tuwong, Carol Brinston, and Crystal Bond.
So a lot of those girls are on the Monday night call, the Zoom call. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And Tia Moya was adopted as well in our unit, and she has a director that holds a weekly Zoom as well. She would attend, so does Tara. They attend their directors' meetings and my meetings because my meeting gave them a little something that they weren't getting from their director meeting, and it's okay. It doesn't make it bad. I started with 2 people at my meeting. Everybody starts small.
Right.
and builds up from there. But also everybody has different personality styles. And so I'm a lot more dominant than some other directors. Like I'm straight to the point, like just do it, just get it done. Where others will hug you and all that. And I'm just not as feely, you know. I'm more direct. And some people need that. But my feelers in my unit that need the hugs, they might go listen to somebody else and hear it from a soft touch like a Linda Rousey. She's the hug and I'm the spanking at the end. Like that's just how we are. And
That's
that's what makes us great, you know.
funny. That's funny.
Um, so instead of thinking I'm helping them, but someone else is helping my unit members in another city. I already said that. Okay. At Mary Kay, we sometimes call this the go give principle. It's a philosophy based on giving and it's applied to every aspect of our business. So there is a go give nomination. At the end of the seminar year, you'll hear me asking for you to nominate a consultant for Miss Go Give. Leslie Bontrager was our Miss Go Give last year and that's voted on upon your peers. Like why do you, you know, not because she sold the most or she recruited the most, how did she make you feel, right? And she goes above and beyond, and there's so many of you that do that. And so we always celebrate a Miss Go Give, and we have a spouse of the year as well that was very helpful and participated and that kind of thing. Now, for the company, there is a director who's nominated by her peers. That's nominated by consultants and directors. So you can do this on Mary Kay in Touch if you ever want to nominate a sales director for Miss Go Give. You can go in there and do that. And so every month in all three seminars, there is a director nominated as the monthly Miss Go Give. And then at the seminar, you'll see them all come out. All 12 of them will come out on the stage, and one is going to be voted on as the national Miss Go Give, like the Miss Go Give of the seminar year. Okay. Linda Rousey was a annual Miss Go Give, and I was a monthly Miss Go Give. I was not voted for the annual, but January of 2023, I was voted for the monthly Miss Go Give for Sapphire Seminar. So that was a huge honor. There are people that go through their whole careers never being nominated, so that was definitely huge. Good leaders should never have dollar signs in their eyes. Our thinking is that if a woman feels attractive on the outside, she becomes attractive on the inside too. Is that still on? That was still on the adoptee program. Okay. So moving on to treat people fairly. Mary Mary Kay talks about, you know, the fact that balancing responsibilities as the company and all other employees, every leader must be able to say no because, you know, that you can't say yes to everything, even though you want to. You can understand, oh, your wife lost her job. Okay, I understand that. That's a tough thing to go through. But no, I'm not going to double your salary because your wife doesn't have a salary anymore. You know, like this could be the beginning of something great for her. So she wanted that employee to turn a no into the motivation for accomplishing more. So she had four simple steps. Number one, it's imperative that each employee be confident that no decision will be arbitrary. And so the first thing she does is listen and then restate the question. And this reassures the employee that I do indeed understand the scope of the problem. Number two, I clearly list the logical reasons why his request cannot be granted. Three, I give a direct no statement. This is so important if you are to build trust and respect among people. It's not fair to expect someone else to surmise or guess your real intent. And number four, and finally, I try to suggest how the employee's goal may be reached by some other path. For example, to this hypothetical employee, I might say, Bill, I'm truly sorry about your wife's misfortune, but you know she may be on the threshold of a whole new career. This could be your opportunity to help her discover her real talents. God didn't have time to make a nobody. We all have the capacity for greatness. Why don't you sit down with her tonight and talk about what she would really like to accomplish next? Like a loving parent who listens to his child, but does not always let them have his way. A leader will strive to treat everyone fairly and give rewards accordingly, practicing the golden rule, not to imply that the company is a part-time charitable institution. So this reminds me of the book Boundaries. If you've never read the book Boundaries, it's a way to still have a Christian heart and still be loving, but be able to say no and set boundaries that are important for you and God's calling for you and all of that. So any thoughts on that?
No, but I have a question. Who wrote Boundaries?
Let me look that up. Oop, stop. Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. It looks like this. And it is on Audible as well as written. It'll change your life. So good. I needed that in a season that things seemed to be falling apart around me on my team. And I just needed to set boundaries and remember that I'm a good leader. That's what Adorables helped me do too. Like Adorables are always willing to do more than it's like your kids' friends are always coming in and they're more well behaved in somebody else's house, always willing to help but not helping as much. It's the same kind of thing because they're so full of gratitude of what they don't have in their family that they want to help keep this going and this excitement and that kind of thing. And there was definitely a divide, and it all anchored in disappointment for what each individual person was doing or not doing. And so just feeling those boundaries and saying that just because someone else is feeling that this isn't working doesn't mean it's not going to work for me, and continuing to move ahead, but still loving this person. But that person wasn't going to get it, love the messenger, throw away the message until they're ready to be close, if they were ever ready to be close. There are ups and downs in this business for sure. And as long as you keep your belief and know that you're doing the right thing, don't let any one person or two people and their statements or comments stop you from what you're doing, and that's what boundaries helped me to do for sure. So whenever I encounter an employee who is misplaced in his or her role, I follow a very different procedure. And my first move is to counsel this person regarding specific ways he or she can improve. I love that she would move somebody to a totally different department. Like I've already poured into this person, and this just is not the right spot for you? And I think the way that we do that in Mary Kay is if you're not finding joy in standing at a vendor table and getting names, then let's find another way out of the 100 ways to generate leads for you to generate a lead that's going to bring you more joy. Because there's Lisa Madsen, who just retired with $17 million in commissions as the highest earner. She beat out Gloria Mayfield Banks, who's earned 16 million. Okay. So up until recently, Gloria was the winner, and now Lisa has beat that number. Now 17 million is the number to beat. And I'll tell you, they couldn't be more different. Lisa Madsen never warm chatted. She never stood at a vendor table. She booked parties from parties. She started with her initial 8 parties, so five will hold, and just kept booking parties from those parties. And that's how she's become who she is. Gloria Mayfield Banks will jump through a car window to get your phone number. She loves to warm chat. She loves to stand at table. She loves being in front of all the people, where Lisa would rather have one person or a table of people than the masses of people. Both very different people, worked their businesses very differently, but both the Mary Kay way. They didn't go against what Mary Kay Ash wanted by any means. They just found a different way that was good in their strengths on how to do it. And that's what you want to look for because you're not going to be Christy Rossi. You're not going to be Lisa Madsen. You're not going to be Gloria Mayfield Banks. You're going to be Jane Krogmeyer and Marilyn Taylor, and you're going to find your way. You know, all these people who are like, I have to figure out how to do this and that on social media. Well, I don't know. Josie Knitter is our number one for 5 years in a row. Jane's about to knock her out of that. But she has never once posted about Mary Kay on her social media. So no, you don't have to be posting on social media to have success in Mary Kay. You just have to be loving on people. And she genuinely cares about her customers and her clients.
She does.
She got really good at customer follow-up, really good at loving the people who have already said yes. I don't need to find 10 more people. If I have this one here, who do they know? Who's their circle that I can get into? You know, and she does it slow and steady. She's the tortoise versus the hare, right? And she comes out ahead every single time. Just doing what she does when she does it, treating it like a hobby, you know, but being the best seller. Now we're working on her being the best recruiter. We'll see. She's definitely the best seller, though. Definitely the best seller. I think you've changed her thought process on recruiting, Jane, for sure. Yeah. You just never know. You never know who's sitting at your table. And if we
Yeah,
don't offer it, then we never know what they can become, you know?
true. That's true.
Yeah. And I think you're a great example too, Marilyn, how she didn't really ask you, but you're like, hey, here's my money, sign me up. Let's do this. I love that. I love that you both have really cool stories. All right. So we not only talk the golden rule, we expect everyone to practice it in Mary Kay. It's an expectation. And you will find people in Mary Kay that don't work by the golden rule. And here's how I feel about those people. They're either going to change or they're just going to weed themselves out. They might get a flash in the pan success, but it's not going to sustain itself without the golden rule. I think that's how anointed this business is. Like she was so spirit led and just never doubted, you know, even one of her first parties when Mary Kay was like zero sales. And she pulled around the corner and cried. Like, what did I do? If I can't sell this, how am I going to show anybody else how to sell it, right? And she immediately got off that pity party and said, "No, I know what I have is good. I just had the wrong party." And, you know, learned from each party after that. That's what we're doing together now. That's why we're doing, you know, the basic trainings and the flip chart Fridays. And I think it's so important that we just keep our focus on this IPA tracker. This one's very faint because my printer is almost out of ink. We just ordered new ink. But, you know, if you only track one thing, make it your IPAs, you know, and then grow from there because you're going to see how quickly you can grow when you're actually tracking what you're doing out of the income producing activities each day. All right, so in the final two paragraphs, I love that she says, I cannot promise you a bed of roses without thorns. Every day, problems will come to your door. And when you face those crucial moments, I want you to take this golden rule marble. They were talking about this marble that a beauty consultant had actually created and started a business with. I have some of those marbles laying around somewhere. My marbles are everywhere. You can find them every once in a while online. But she says, I want you to take this golden rule marble, hold it in your hand, and ask yourself, how could I solve this with the golden rule? And what would Mary Kay do if she were here? She closes with, I don't think effective leadership can be achieved in any other way. You know, if you're not considering somebody else's experience and wanting, you know, like I look at anybody that's my senior, how would I want my mother or my grandmother to be treated? Anyone that's younger, how would I want my daughter or son to be treated? And to truly bring that into every aspect of your life, you'll be a joy spreader. You can't help it. And then people want to do business with you because they like who you are and who you be at your core because they see it. And I think more importantly, it's not just what you're doing in public that other people can see, but what you are and what you're doing when no one's looking. And I wasn't always, I can't say at every avenue in my life that I'd be proud to blast out what I was doing in private. It's when you know better, you do better. Well, those are all my thoughts on the chapter. Do you guys have any other thoughts, questions, comments?
I thought it was a very good chapter, very enjoyable.
Hmm. And the print is larger. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I actually have to read. I can't listen to this one. This one's not on Audible, so I actually have to listen to it, or I mean read it. But I don't mind, especially when I have my previous highlighted and marked little things in there. It's like rereading your Bible. It's been called the Mary Kay Way. It's been called Mary Kay on People Management. This one that I have here was the 50th. Was it the 50th anniversary? I think it was the one that was made on their 50th. So even this one is 10 years old, over 10 years old, because it was reprinted. So which one do you have, Jane, that it didn't have the same little thing in the front?
It did have that quote. I just went to the first chapter. It was that her was on the left and I read the one on the right.
Oh, okay.
So yes, it was. It is the
Okay.
same one.
All right, good. Good. Yep. So, I take what I've learned from Mary Kay Ash's readings and what I've learned from those women who were trained by Mary Kay Ash herself, and I take the stuff that I've learned that's not serving the company or serving the legacy, and I throw that away. And I continue to build our future national area on everything that's spoken in this book. I promised my unit that anything I'm training is going to be from Mary Kay Ash's legacy. And I reaffirm this with nationals that have trained directly with her and say, is this what Mary Kay Ash would say in her meeting? And sometimes I'm a little off and have to go back and go, hold on, I said that a little wrong. This is actually how it was said or whatever. But I think if we're all focused on just carrying on Mary Kay Ash's legacy, we're all going to be very successful in what we do. As long as we just keep doing the things, having not just the belief in what we're doing, but the action behind it is important. Well, I appreciate you ladies joining me today. I'm hopeful that we get some more participation with this book, especially because this is a really important book for every consultant, every working consultant, especially in our unit, to know. And I think that even the non-working consultants reading this book might inspire them either in their field that they work in, or maybe even inspire them to do more with their Mary Kay business. So be sure to share with your sister consultants what you got from today and encourage them to be on with us next week as we go over chapter 2. I think Jane's frozen.
Am I? No,
Yeah, you're frozen.
you're frozen on my screen.
Okay. Well,
I
that's
had
all
to
right.
plug, I had to plug my computer in because it was going to be dead.
Oh,
So I'm standing up, but no, it's not frozen.
okay. You're not frozen anymore. You started moving again. All right, ladies. Well, have a great day. Those who show up, go up.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Christy. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, Marilyn.
Bye-bye.